That takes balls. Like, that's fucking crazy. Luke Lavidis, who's part of Joga Bonito tour that took Ronaldinho to Australia.
Do you do it for the money or do you do it for the passion? And if you do things for the money, it doesn't really last long and it feels like a job. When you do things for the passion, it's not a job. Everything that we want to put together is to build soccer in Australia so we can stand out to the rest of the world. He played with Ronaldinho, he played with Ronaldo, he played with Kaká and all these players.
How hard is it to bring Ronaldinho to Australia or to Dubai?
The way that you get people's attention on social media is very simple. It's like getting a kid's attention. I actually met Andrew Tate, and I've got a crazy story about Andrew Tate as well. Let's go knock on the door. What's the worst that can happen, right? Why would I waste my time? Well, I still have this motivation and I still have this energy. Why wouldn't I take it to a place where they do like opportunity, where they do value these things? They do value opportunity, they value success.
That sounds super racist, but I'm going for it. I actually think you could live a cheaper life in Dubai whilst it being the same or better standard than your life at home.
The hardest thing I've ever done was something I did every single day, and that was wake up in the morning to a job that I hated. That was the hardest thing.
Welcome to the show, where we talk to people about the bits you don't see. Today, we're talking to Luke Lavidis, who's part of Joga Bonito tour that took Ronaldinho to Australia. Luke, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for coming on. And so early when you've moved to Dubai, you only got here, 3 months ago?
Yeah, 3 months it's been, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about your story. What have you got going on?
Here in Dubai?
Anything.
Everything.
Before and then to here. Start at home, come to here.
So back home, I was in a normal sort of job in construction. And then I opened up my own business and started contracting to a lot of big companies. And then I wasn't really happy. I always had something in the back of my mind where I wanted to do something different and do something that was really wow. When I was a young kid, I've always excelled in a lot of things and I was pretty popular in school. So I thought, okay, there's got to be something more out there for me. So I was in that job for many years. And every time I'd wake up in the morning, I know that there was something more. And I just hated the situation that I was in. And then I met this beautiful woman named Aya, and who's now my wife. And basically what happened was she inspired me to come over and live in Dubai. Well, we talked about coming over here and also living in Australia. But I thought because the opportunity is so scarce in Australia and the people are so different, why wouldn't I come to a place where the opportunity is huge? So this is where I decided to move to Dubai. Long story short, I was like, I'm not getting into construction. Let's do something totally different and something that I'm more passionate about. And that's a good thing about Dubai is you can start somewhere out of nowhere pretty much and start a new career and there's opportunity for it. So I came here and I had already done a tour with Ronaldinho last year, an exhibition match with a friend of mine, Gons. And there was a group of us that brought him over. We did an exhibition match with Tim Cahill and the Socceroos who went the furthest in the 2006 World Cup. So we did and then Ronaldinho put a team together of some Brazilian players and they played an exhibition match, 2 games. And we thought we could bring that idea to Dubai. And that's one of the things that I'm also doing here, is trying to bring that exhibition matches. I know they do those sort of things, but we've got a bit of a different aspect when we're bringing players from Australia and hopefully swapping players from the UAE and Australia and try to bring the sport up in both countries. So we've got another big player coming out this year. And also social media content, I got some natural skill in directing. And I've done a lot of viral content myself. And knowing that I did the content myself is where I learned that I know more about people. I know what people like and what they want and how to understand them and how to get their attention. So this is where I came from a different aspect and started working with some big companies that are like, we love what you do. We love how you do it. Can you do it for us? Mm-hmm. And this is how it's pretty much happened, yeah. But I've got more of a story of right before I came to Dubai in Australia, but we can get into that later.
We'll get onto that. Let's jump right back to the construction then, because I know you were saying that you didn't like it, but construction's really different in Australia to like the UK or the UAE. Like, you get paid quite well in construction in Australia, don't you? And it's actually quite a good job.
You do, but that's the thing. Like, do you do it for the money or do you do it for the passion? And if you do things for the money, it doesn't really last long and it feels like a job. When you do things for the passion, it's not a job.
Yeah.
You actually love it. And it's so cliche. Everybody talks about that. Everyone says that. But until you're in that mindset, then it's very, very difficult to get out of that, man, because people do it and they're trapped in that and that's all they know how to do. Yeah. And to get out of that seems scary, but construction, especially back home, all right, it's a good paying job, it's a high paying job, but there's a lot of stress that comes with it. There's a lot of depression that comes with it. I think the most suicidal rate is tradesmen. So when you come here, you've got a lot of the laborers and the Indians doing the job and for not much, right? So it's not really a high paying skilled job. But back home, you got to go to TAFE and get apprenticeships and go through all this sort of stuff, you know.
It's the same in the UK, but in the UK it's like it's nowhere near as highly paid. Although there is like a massive shortage of construction people in the UK now. Back like when I was at school, it was such a like, oh, you're an idiot if you leave school and go into construction. And I'm so like, I think that's so stupid because now we've created this massive deficit of good construction people. So they're actually one of the highest paid in the country now. Like I've got a friend that's got a construction company, builds glamping pods, which so he's got like joiners, he's got electricians, blah, blah, blah. And I've got people with degrees in architecture, and his guys are getting paid 2 and 3 times what my people are that have got degrees. So yeah, the construction industry is an interesting one. But yeah, you've moved on from that, so let's move on ourselves from that. Tell me a bit more about the Jogo Bonito stuff. So you do exhibition matches, some big names in there. Yeah. What's going on there?
So basically, the soccer in Australia is really bad, and you know, rugby and all these other sports and AFL have really taken over, but soccer is the world game, right?
Cricket as well, isn't it? Cricket's quite big in Australia.
Cricket's big as well. And these sports are all fine and everything, but I think we really need to have a presence in soccer because as Australians, we're very competitive. We do well in the Olympics, even if we haven't got many people. We do well in swimming and hockey and all these other sports. Why not soccer? What makes us different from everybody else? You know,
you've got the World Cup coming as well, don't you? Is that 2030? 2030? Must be because it's America. I'm going to America for the full month next year. And then is it Australia and then Saudi?
Oh wow, it's happening in Australia. That's huge.
I don't know. I think so.
I know the Olympics is going to be.
Made that up.
Olympics is going to be in Brisbane. Might be the Olympics.
Might be.
The Olympics are going to be there. But Gonz, the guy who started Jogo Bonito, him and John, they came together and they said because nothing is happening in Australia, and a lot of the players are not paid well, something needs to be done. And he's got a son that plays and everything like that. So, how do we motivate and influence the soccer industry in Australia? And that's by creating these exhibition matches and bringing these big players over from overseas. It's really important for these young kids to see these people in the flesh. It gives them the motivation. And also mindset is a big thing too. So collectively, everything that we want to put together is to build soccer in Australia, right? So we can stand out to the rest of the world. So we become competitive in the World Cup. That's basically why Jogo Bonito was formed.
So when I hear Jogo Bonito, I think that video of Ronaldinho hitting the crossbar all the time, and I think, are they in the dressing room like maybe 2005 or something, the Brazilian team, and they all do the keepy-uppies and stuff?
Yep.
That's what I think. Is there any kind of tangents from that to what you do, or is it just a kind of brand thing?
It's a brand thing because Jogo Bonito means the beautiful game. So when Gonz came up with that name, it was like the perfect title to explain exactly what the game is, because to a lot of people it's life, you know. It's a game to some, but to a lot of people it's life. They can't wait to watch games, and they have these diehard supporters, Liverpool supporters, I don't know who you follow, but you know, it's really gives meaning to people's lives, you know, which is nice, and it is a great sport, and it can really discipline a young kid. And the problem is nowadays, you know, a young kid might start to do well. He has a lot of talent, but his mindset isn't there. He hasn't got a mentor. So what happens is he starts to shift off and go to girls and maybe drinking and things like that. So, you know, this Jogo Bonito is a collective of things where we're helping kids with doing academies, doing exhibition games, it's coming together. But the goal is to bring a lot more awareness and build it up in Australia.
Makes sense. So if I've got a kid and I'm bringing him along to you and I'm saying make him love football, what's happening with that kid when he turns up?
What do you mean?
So you say you've got academy stuff going on?
They do have academies, but they're not rolling as of yet. They want to do academies with the big players. So like Ronaldinho, for example. Okay. You know, other player we got coming out, I can't say it just as yet, but another player that comes out and does an academy with the kids and, you know, motivational things and whatever. So this sort of stuff.
Right, makes sense. So in your exhibition matches then, who's playing? So you've said Ronaldinho, Tim Cahill, who, for those who don't know, he's like the probably biggest Australian player ever, I would say.
Yes, yeah.
And he's had a goalkeeper as well.
Schwarzer.
Yeah.
He didn't play in the exhibition match. He's a bit old now, but we had John Aloisi, we had Aaron Moy, a lot of big players from Sydney FC.
Aaron Moy, yeah, I recognise him.
These sort of guys, yeah. And the thing is, like, you know, these players don't get much recognition because maybe when we don't do as well in the World Cup or they don't play on the big stage. Tim Cahill played on the big stage. But outside that, they're such good men. They're such gentlemen. And for me, Tim Cahill was the nicest guy that I've
I could imagine met. That. I could see that.
He always had time for the kids. He always took photographs and did autographs, and he was fantastic. Yeah.
And so you're hoping to bring that here.
Yep.
When am I going to be able to go and see Ronaldinho playing here?
Probably September.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah,
soon.
mid-September.
Wow,
yeah.
that's really soon. So you must be like pretty much nailed down then. You must have like a kind of plan in place and everything's almost there with it.
We have a plan in place, but the problem with Dubai is you need to know people here. You have to be connected to the person at the top. If you're trying to get and make phone calls, if you're nobody just speaking to reception, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So you really need to know people. And this is the problem we're having now. We need to find the person at the top, get sponsors and things like that to sponsor this guy coming over, because they can get this player whenever they want. Mm-hmm. But because we have this particular way of doing things, we have this concept, I think that's what stands out. And it's just finding the right person and speaking to the right person. So we've got a few that we've been speaking to. So hopefully everything starts to work out and pan out when these people start to put their foot down and say, you know what, like I'm going to back this. Because there's the opportunity, we can see the opportunity. But for other people, they don't really care. Yeah. They're just about the money. They're like, you know, how's it going to make me money at the end of the day? How's it going to benefit me? But you need to speak to the person that's like, you know what, how's it going to benefit the country? And that's where like the royal family and all that come in. But it's very, very difficult to hit into that, you know.
I think one of the interesting things about here, we're obviously going to speak later about the West versus the Middle East and stuff soon. And it is so good in so many ways. But something that I do find really challenging here is exactly what you've said, is like everyone always kind of talks the talk. When you want to do this, oh yeah, of course, that sounds great. And then actually getting to the point of it happening can sometimes be a little bit hard, especially in some of these bigger organisations. You're never really sure, am I speaking to the right guy? You know, he does a lot of talking, and does it actually happen? Do you feel like you've had that?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that goes into that. It could be the way you talk, the way you look, where you're from, what you say, how you say it, if you're convincing enough. You know, a lot of people can see can tell if there's bullshit coming out of your mouth in a way. But when you come from a place where there's passion, and you have, look, I feel like you need to have everything planned before you go and speak to these people. You have to have all your ammunition. You have to have everything perfect, because you might only get one chance. And you might only get one chance in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Saudi. And if you go to one of those places and they know that you've gone to those places before them, they won't get you because of that. You know, so it's very difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
It is.
And so if this all goes perfect and it all goes to plan, like what are we going to be seeing in September in Dubai? Is it going to be like a big exhibition match? Is it going to be in a big stadium? What's going to be going on?
A big stadium, yeah. So we're planning on having that big player with Sydney FC and Melbourne Victory. So they're sort of combining. So the best players.
So they're existing teams now, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So it'll be the best players from then that come together. And then we were hoping to bring the UAE All-Stars, and they can form a team as well, and then do an exhibition match here.
God, that sounds like really hard work to bring all of those different pieces together.
It is.
Is it just you doing it yourself, or have you got kind of people helping you?
No, we've got Gonz is the main guy behind it, him and John, and then there's me, pretty much. There were so many people in it before, but a lot of people did the wrong thing and they dropped off because they were just money hungry and whatever. But it's basically us three. Yeah.
And so have all three of you come from Australia all at the same time to do this?
No, I came here by myself. Gonz is still back in Australia with Jean. He's from Brazil, and he played with all these players. He played with Ronaldinho, he played with Ronaldo, he played with Kaká and all these players.
That makes sense.
He knows them personally from when he was a young kid, so he's the connection.
That makes sense. Kaká, funny enough, my friend, my finance director in one of my companies, he was the CFO at, what was the American team that Kaká signed for? Orlando City.
Oh, yeah.
He was a CFO when Kaká signed.
Oh, wow.
And that was like a big, massive thing back then. So, like, how hard is it to bring Ronaldinho to Australia or to Dubai?
Look, money is a factor, but also it's who you are, right? Mm. So because of Jean actually knows him personally and played with him,
so much easier. He
just said, yeah, whatever you guys want to do, like I'm up for it.
Yeah.
You know. And the people around him are like, well, this is the money you got to pay. Ronaldinho loves to come and see his fans. He loves to interact with people. He loves to play the game. He's a very simple person, a little bit shy, he might seem. But if you get to know him and speak to him, he's actually pretty open, and he speaks English quite well.
That's it.
You know what I mean? But people don't think that. He's not very open.
And he's a bit crazy, isn't he? I've read stuff where, like, when he was playing, did he not have, like, a clause where he could go out drinking, like, 3 nights a week or something?
Twice a week.
Yeah, twice a week.
Yeah.
And he went to jail as well, didn't he? What was that for?
Yeah, so what happened was he had... someone had gifted him a passport. I think it was during COVID time or something like that. But it was a different name on there. But he didn't know that till he got to the airport. So there was I can't remember exactly what happened, but he had gone there and given the passport that had been gifted to him from the Paraguay or whatever. I don't know why his Brazilian passport wasn't active. And then they said, like, you're not this person, like, you're Ronaldinho. We
You're
know
Ronaldinho,
exactly who
clearly.
you are, you know? And he was just like, this was given to me from an important national of Paraguay. Like, what the hell's going on? And they locked him up for a little bit, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he was in jail for like quite a while, I think,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
yeah. He didn't really talk about that too much, you know.
You
but
probably didn't ask too much.
yeah. We just sort of kept it really professional, but everybody knows the story. It's online.
So social media, you're good at social media. Talk to me about
I
that.
wouldn't say good. I'm okay at social media. It's something that nobody has really mastered, except if you're like Mr. Beast, I suppose.
Yeah.
But social media is super important nowadays. You know, if you're not on social media, you don't exist. You know, and I tell people that all the time, how important it is. Because I was back then, like, I didn't care about social media. I was like, stuff that. I don't want people to know about my life and things like that. But as time goes on, it's like it's pretty much everything. And you can display how you want to be on social media. You don't have to follow any sort of... The more different you are and the weirder you are, the better you go, right? Mm-hmm. You could be the ugliest person. You could be a person that has the weirdest content or does the craziest thing and does really well. And the person that is, you know, sophisticated, good looking and speaks well doesn't do so well, you know? So it's taken a very funny turn. But the way that you get people's attention on social media is very simple. It's like getting a kid's attention. Super clear, colorful picture. Sound's got to be good. Big text, big writing, quick hooks. You've got 3 seconds to get somebody's attention. There's a lot of factors that goes into play with social media. But when you pretty much get the basics, then you're good. But you have to find your niche. That's the most important thing. You find your niche. A lot of people, they try to do something that everybody else is doing, and you're competing with a lot of people. Back in Sydney, I was doing, the nightlife was crap. It was dead. And they put all these laws to kill the nightlife, right? So I found a space in there where it was like, okay, nobody's talking about it and no one's getting people back out of the house because after COVID, Netflix and all this sort of stuff, people were comfortable. So people started to go out to dinners here and there, but not really go out and socialize. So I was trying to push that. And that's where I found my niche in that. And when I found my niche in that, I realized, okay, well, how do I get people's attention? Okay. What do I talk about to get people's attention? How do I act to get people's attention? There's a lot of factors that go into it. And that's where I came up with this little formula and tried it for myself. And I had multiple viral videos and all that because it seemed easy. Nobody else was talking about it, right? And then learning about hooks and all this sort of stuff like that. There's a lot that comes into play, but I feel social media is the most important thing anybody can have when it comes to opening a business.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, one of my main businesses, I've got one that is not really reliant on social media. We sell to like farmers and stuff who aren't on social media. But my other business is a glamping site, and it is so heavily reliant on social media. If we lost our Instagram and our Facebook, like we would be struggling within 6 months probably. Yeah. So yeah, it is super important. Yes. Right, give me some advice. If I want one of my next 10 posts for this podcast to go viral, what do I need to do?
Come up with some controversial topics or easy topics. So you would always start off the video with a hook. So you would say, these are the 3 things I wouldn't do in Dubai. These are the 3 best things. The secret to something is the best way to start. So you have to find what people are already talking about. Like Mr. Beast puts this perfectly. It's like going down the street and you're driving down in a farm area and you look to the right and you see some cows, and they're normal cows. Mm-hmm. But then you keep driving and you see a purple cow. And for you, it's like you've seen this so many times before, but it's different. It stands out. It gets your attention. Same thing with social media. You don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. You can always find what is working and put it in your own take. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that have seen videos. There might be a video that you've seen that's got 50 million views, but there's 6.5 billion something people that haven't seen it, right? So you can recreate that. So you can do and all it takes is one viral video really for you to sort of get recognized and get your name out there. Then it becomes a little bit easier and our algorithm picks you up again, right? So coming up with a good hook, super clear camera quality. The edit is really important as well, cutting out dead space in between.
It needs to be really quick, doesn't it?
Quick, yeah. To show the viewer that the video is going along, and don't make it go too long. Having something where you're revealing something at the end or an anticipation of something. It's like watching a movie. It's really important that you have a hook at the start, you have like a little introduction, you have the setup, then you have the conclusion and the payout at the end. So these are things that are really important in social media that a lot of people miss because they don't really understand it. But the best way to really learn is just keep scrolling, keep looking through your reels and see what does well and why it does well.
There's a lot of skills I've noticed since I've set up the podcast. I'm okay at speaking, which is really helpful, but there's a lot of skills in social media. You need to be able to talk to the camera, quickly and efficiently and effectively. You need to say the right things. You need to be able to edit well. You need to be able to write well for the captions. Like, there's so many different skills. Like, is it hard to have all of them together? It
is, man. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? And everybody would be successful at it. That's why you got to keep at it. You could be doing content and posting a video twice a week, 3 times a week, once a day for 6 months and nothing will happen. Yeah. And then 6 months and one day comes up and boom, that's it.
I seen a thing about Mr. Beast that he posted like 50 or 60 videos or something before he ever got recognised.
Yeah.
And that he's obviously like the number 1 person in the world at the internet now.
That's right. So yeah, a lot of people try to perfect their videos, right, from the get-go. You just have to get started. Yeah. Because the first 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 videos might not get many views, but eventually it will happen. And you'll start to learn a bit more about what will work and about yourself and the people that you invite on, the topics that you come up with as well. But, you know, like if there's a really easy topic is, we made a video that probably got about over 10 million on a couple of platforms. And that was my cousin saying, what was it? Apple is the most satanic company, and I'll tell you why. You know, and the graphic come up was like Steve Jobs, and then he turns into the devil, and it's like the first Mac that got sold was $666, and it's iPhone and all this sort of crap that doesn't even make sense. But people like that, right? Also, in what you can do is you can do things, you can make mistakes on purpose to get people to comment. So you might
I've noticed that a lot more lately.
That's right. You might say something because.
Or somebody's cooking. I seen one. This is actually a real life example I seen really recently. Somebody was making a sandwich and the bread was moldy.
Yeah.
And because of that, it had like a million likes and like 50 million views or whatever.
It's perfect. There's 2 things that people want to do when they watch social media.
Tell you you're wrong.
The first thing is people want to be entertained and educated at the same time. Usually entertained. You know, that's why these prank videos do well, but you can't monetize from prank videos, right? For you to build a brand and build a platform, you really need to have like something niche and something that people can relate and resonate to. And having passion and talking with passion really, really works well. Unless you're saying something deep and then you take your time when you say it and you have the pauses in there and things like that. But most of the time, when you have an opinion, Andrew Tate is a perfect example, you know.
I spoke about him on the last 3 podcasts now, two
there,
now this
there
one
you
as
go.
well.
I actually met Andrew Tate and I've got a crazy story about Andrew Tate as well. But, you know, he fits the picture perfectly because, you know, he looks good, he's confident, he has the glasses, he says controversial things, and he's like the perfect poster boy for someone who made it in social media, right? And that's the thing. He used social media. He'd been doing it for a long time. You'll see videos of him talking in front of the camera from a long, long time ago, but he used it to his advantage and he benefited from his advantage because at the end of the day, influence is power and he understands that and everybody understands that does social media.
Yeah. I've noticed that there's a lot of videos that they've gone viral and then somebody reposts basically the exact same video again or the same video but very slightly tweaked. Is there something in that?
Because if a video, like I said before, if the video does really well, that means that has worked, that formula has worked. So if it gets 50 million views, 100 million views, there's still 6 billion people that haven't seen it yet. So you just keep reposting. And there's these guys, the pun guys, I don't know if you've seen these guys before, that does the pun videos, these 2 brothers. And they do these, there's people that make these crazy meals and then they remake it to see if it's true and it actually comes out nice.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
These guys stop making content because they've made so much content and they just keep reposting. They're worth millions because they keep reposting. And they're the ones that said, you know, if you have a video that does well, and it does so many million views, there's so many million people that haven't done that. And I've done that recently with a video where I was interviewing this guy who looked like a famous person in Sydney. And I did that probably about 3 years ago. And then I reposted like 2 weeks ago, still got over 100,000 views. So it's just like, there's so many people that haven't seen it still.
Yeah. Tell me the Andrew Tate story.
Andrew Tate story. So I was watching one of his videos on YouTube popped up and then I saw that he was in Dubai. And I'm like, okay, where is that place? It looks familiar. So I sort of worked out where it was. And once I worked out where it was, I was like, okay, that's in the Palm. I know what that is roughly. So I was in some meetings at the Atlantis Royal with my wife. We're talking to some people. And when we were leaving there, I said, you know what, let's go past there and see if he's there. Why not? Because my wife knows the people who live in that street. So we drove down there, came to the gate. The guy said, where are you coming from? My wife said, oh, this is my friend that lives here, blah, blah, blah. No questions asked. Boom, they put the gate up. We drove straight in. It was like the 3rd or 4th house on the left. And I'm like, that's the house. And my wife is like, are you sure? I'm like, 100% that is the house. I know that is the house. So we went there. We sort of parked up and said, let's go knock on the door. What's the worst that can happen, right? Let's just go knock on the door. So we get up, we walk down there, we knock on the door. This little Indian guy opens the door and there's some lady sitting on the couch. And my wife is like, Sorry, wrong house. Closed the door and we walked out. He wasn't home. Anyway, we saw a few people came out of the house and we're like, what are these people doing here? As we're driving off, they were looking at us, put the window down. I said, hey man, we're just locals in the area. We're just wondering if Andrew was home. We wanted to say hello. He's like, oh, he's not home at the moment. He usually comes home at night time. And I said, look, do you mind if we come and say hello to him? I don't think he will mind, just come back later. I'm like, okay, cool. So we went to like this crypto house or these crypto people, there was a convention happening. Went there, we played pool and whatever. 8:30 came, I said, let's go past and see if he's there. We drive back to the Palm. We were staying near the Palm anyway. Back to the Palm, same thing, opened the boom gate. The guy remembered us, went straight in. We drove past, all the lights are on. You could tell people were home. We're like, okay, this is it. You want to meet him? This is it. All right. So my partner jumps out of the car and says, look, I'll go there because if a woman goes to the door, it doesn't seem so confronting, right? When you see like guy, and back then it was my friend coming with us as well. So we jump out of the car and we walk past the house and we stopped. We're like, damn, who's got the balls to go up and actually knock on the door this time? And when we were deciding what we were going to do, this big entourage of people came out and guess who was there in the middle? Andrew Tate was in there. So my partner walked up and she was like, Andrew, we just want to say hello to you. And I was like, oh, of course, no problem. He was the most nicest gentleman ever. So he was just so happy just to see us, it almost. He gave the time because they were going for dinner. And he actually came out and he was just like, hey, nice to meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. And he sort of stood on the side of the curb with his arms like this. And he was asking us some questions. And I said, look, how long are you in Dubai for? He said, look, I'm planning on staying here for good. Then I asked him about his brother. I said, where's your brother tonight? Because he's staying home. And I said to him, and he said to me, you live in Dubai? I said, yeah, we live in Dubai here. I said, it's a great place. I said, look, there's one thing that resonated with me that you said, and that's Dubai is for winners. And that really resonated with me. I liked what you said and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, man, because anybody that says that Dubai isn't good is for brokies. And he said that to me. And I was like, he said that like in plain sight. It was so great. We had a decent conversation for about 10 minutes. Then we took some photos with him. And that was it. We left. And as we left, we walked back to our car. And the same gentleman that we saw when we first went there had walked out. And we said to him, hey, it was nice to meet you. Thank you very much. He's like, of course, did you get to meet him? Yeah, of course, no problem. What's your name? My name's Hussein. I'm his personal chef. I've been with him for years and I cook for him all the time. I'm like, that's fantastic, man. And then my partner is in the medical field and she said, I can get, some treatments for him done with some IV drips and whatever it is from one of the clinics there. He said, no problem. Take down my details and I'll set up a meeting. Whenever you want to sit down with him and talk to him about it, let's do it. No problem. So that's what we're up to now. When he comes back to Dubai, we'll be catching up with him and, hopefully getting into his little circle. And yeah,
nice.
It's a great guy.
That takes balls. Like, that's fucking crazy.
You can only do that in Dubai, right? You can only do that in Dubai. And someone like Andrew Tate will be comfortable enough to actually talk to you because he feels safe here, right, in a way. But not only that, you got to go for opportunity.
Yeah.
You have to. Like, if there's an opportunity where you can do something or create something or meet someone, fuck it, why not? What's the worst that can happen? Get away from us. Or no, he's not going to speak to anyone. Or I don't want to see anybody. And if you get a no if you don't do anything about it, there's already a rejection there. If you don't do something about it, that's your answer. There's already a no. Yeah. So why not go for it?
You miss all the shots that you don't take.
Exactly.
That's funny. I really struggle to imagine me being able to do that. Like, I'll stand on a stage in front of 1,000 people and speak no problem. I'll sit on a camera and speak no problem. But see, like, walking up to a person, like, I don't know, that gives me stress to even think about that.
Yeah, for me, I don't. I've been on the other side of losing opportunity. I've been on the side of kicking myself when I don't take that opportunity. And I think to myself, next time this happens, I'm not going to shy away or get scared or get embarrassed or get scared of getting rejected.
Yeah.
Fuck it. What's the worst that can happen?
And I do think that, like, I do need to remind myself of that. Like, I have gone up to people in the past and, every time that it's happened, it's either been good or I've laughed about it afterwards. Yeah. It's never like, oh my God, I died then. It's just like, oh, that was funny.
Sometimes they can appreciate that you do walk up to them and you do have that, like showing courage that you walk up to somebody and you're a go-getter for a lot of people's eyes is like, you know what, that's good. I like the fact that this person has, stepped out and actually done something about it and actually, you got to create your own opportunity, man. Really
100%. 100%. Right, talk to me about the Sydney nightlife thing because you're quite active on that. You've said you did the whole social media thing on it. What's the story there?
Yeah, so Sydney had gone through one of the best nightlifes in the world back in the early 2000s. And then after a certain amount of time, there was too much chaos going on. Someone got hit and died, and the government stepped in and said, look, this has gone way too far. They didn't know how to control it, so they pretty much set these lockout laws and everything like that. But after a certain amount of time, a lot of people were sort of negative about the city because people judge cities based on their nightlife. If the nightlife is good, then the whole city is good for some reason. But if the nightlife isn't good, then what's good? Oh, the lights in the buildings or this or that. There's not really much malice to it, right? So no one was really saying anything about it. And when I started to go out, and I was going out on my own, I was like, no one is playing the right music. The places are really struggling. The lighting isn't good. There was a lot of factors that I could see that could help. So I went out to a few places and gave my advice, and they said, this is really good. Can you do an event here? Whatever. So I don't really do events. But because nobody was doing anything like an underground scene, people wanted to go out to something that was exciting. So I created like these underground house parties that were like, you get the address like 4 hours before and, a special number and things like that. So I ended up doing those sort of underground parties, then went on to the commercial scene. And while that happened, I started to get really involved with what was happening in Sydney and the new things that were happening and the trends and their plans to the government to make it better. I didn't like anything that was happening. So I stood up and I started doing social media and saying, this needs to change, that needs to change. We need to do this. We need to, get together more. We need to start loving each other more. And doing that is going out and interacting with each other because everybody is just so stuck in their own way and everything is like, things are too expensive and things like that. So I'd really tried to unite everybody and be the spokesperson to unite everybody. I didn't care about anything out of it. I just want everybody to come together because I knew that it was helping all these businesses and helping all these people that were struggling in the industry. And I knew these people personally that were struggling. And I just feel like when people get out more and they start to socialize more, there's a lot more things that can happen, a lot more opportunity, especially for the city. A lot more opportunity can happen for eyes for the city. And I thought because it's such a beautiful place, and there's such great people and good food, why isn't everybody from around the world coming here? If it's cold in Europe, it's hot in Australia at the end of the year. So let's try to grab those people. Let's do things on social media. Let's do things to stand out from the world to bring it over here. But like with anything in these countries like that, there's too much red tape. There's all these government people that are like, in their fucking 60s and they're old people that don't know what's going on. They got no clue about anything and everything's about rules and regulations and safety and all this sort of crap like that. Okay. And it's like, how are you going to attract anybody to come here if the place is just seems boring, right? Give people that have some sort of drive and creative ability to come out there, come up with some ideas. They got all these left-wing people that come up with this crap and it's hard to see because it's such a great place. And it's driving people like me out. So anybody who has aspirations or passions or goals or whatever, they fizzle out and die in a place like that because nothing is done about it. And when you do something about it, they tax you or everybody else talks shit about you. And there's this tall poppy syndrome in the place. And it's really, really, really bad.
It sounds so similar to the UK in so many ways, like everything that you said there. And so, did you get anywhere with kind of fixing things, with bringing more people
I did. I worked with quite a few places to help and bring that back. And I started to really create like a bit of a buzz on social media. And people started to talk about, it was good back then. It is. But at the end of the day, it didn't have the impact like I wanted it to. But I didn't care because I was like, why would I waste my time and everything when the people can't change? The people can't change and there's no demand there. People are happy to go to a restaurant. People are happy to sit at home and watch Netflix. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how times have changed right now. I just saw the benefit of people coming together. So I thought, why would I waste my time? Well, I still have this motivation and I still have this energy. Why wouldn't I take it to a place where they do like opportunity, where they do value these things. They do value opportunity. They value success. They value people with new ideas and and innovations. And a place like Dubai.
Yeah. So I think this is a really good transition into the kind of West versus Middle East debate. What's your take?
Yeah, the West, right? People thought the Middle East was backwards. It's not. The West is backwards right now. I believe that it is.
Completely agree.
Because first of all, you work half the year for free. Next thing is you have an idea, a creative idea. You're never going to be heard.
What do you mean work half the year for free?
Because of tax.
Yeah.
You get taxed like incredibly crazy. And that's not very motivating, when you have to sit there and pay that tax at the end of it. And a lot of times you have businesses and you have to save up that tax and pay it when they want you to pay it, right? And then most of the time you spend that because everything's so expensive. So the West, I feel, is backwards in that way. The people as well, everyone is so negative. Everyone's stressed. Everyone's in survival mode, which puts everybody in this state of tall poppy syndrome. Everybody's competitive with each other and not working with each other. Come over to Dubai. Everybody's working with each other. People that come here have already made the jump. You already know that even if they're full of shit, they're less full of shit than that person back home because they've made the leap to come here, right? So it is the land of opportunity here, and it embraces that. And they're very vocal about embracing opportunity over here. So people here, whenever you meet somebody, it's always, what do you do and how can we do something together? Sometimes it doesn't work out. There's people that are full of shit everywhere. Back home, you network. Where do you network? In a club or on a boat party with alcohol and strippers, and everyone talks crap. And what happens after that? They forget about it on Monday morning, don't reply back to you. At least here, everybody's in a good state of mind. Everybody is somewhat sober, and they speak and they create plans in a nice networking event or at a nice dinner or introduce somebody, and something is more likely to happen. So the window of opportunity is a lot bigger here.
What's the downside? Since you've come here, you've spent some time here now. Is there anything that you're like, oh, that thing is better in Australia than in Dubai?
Yeah, I believe the overall food, I think, is better in Australia.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, because I think we've got really good produce in with meats and things like that, which is normal. But that's okay because they have great food here as well, right?
Yeah, I've never heard anyone say the food's better in that other place than here.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the only person that says that, but I've been to a lot of nice, because in Australia you can go to a local. You can drive down the street and find a local place and be satisfied. Where here it's a little bit different. It's not as easy to find. The quality isn't as high in those normal average places. And the high-end places are great, yeah. Another thing is a lot of the people that have the normal sort of jobs. What I mean by normal jobs is like answering the phones, when you go to the embassy places, like people that have these sort of jobs, right? They're very difficult because they don't speak English properly. They're very hard to understand. And how do you call to get something done? How do you, if something is you got to pay a bill or something, you have an issue with it, it's very hard to find the number and speak to a person. Already.
You've only been here 3 months and you've noticed that. Yeah. It is the bane of my fucking life.
That's difficult. It's like I went to go do my visa and it was like I had to do some video and watch a video and whatever. I'm like, okay, great. Okay, walk into that building, no problem. I'm like, hey, I'm here to watch the video. I'm like, the video. Oh, yeah. And they just point. It's like, tell me what, I haven't done this. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, tell me where to go and what to do, and I'll go and do it, So that for me has been really frustrating in that way.
I don't think it's a language barrier thing, though. I know you said the language, but I actually think even the ones that can speak English well, like, I think it's more of like a cultural thing that, like, I don't know if, like, India and Pakistan, they're maybe not, like, got as much common sense. Yeah, that sounds super racist, but I'm going for it. I'm going to stand with that.
Yeah. It's like, true.
Even when they speak English well, it's like you make no sense. Yeah, it's nothing to do with the language. Yeah. Like the things that you're telling me to do make no sense.
It's minimal care factor. It's the bare minimum just to get by. And I feel like the manners here is not as big as in Australia. You don't see many please and thank yous and pardons, and they drive like a third world country here almost, and there's no, thank you or wave or anything like that. Again, that's because
all the drivers are Indian or from Pakistan.
That's right, so it gets really frustrating. And, when you let people in and you're like, hold the door open for them and you say, there is no like thank you. Or sometimes there is, it's under their voice. People seem a bit scared to talk to each other here in a way, which is the average, when you're in an average place, not like in a networking event.
Yeah, Australians are quite like out there, aren't they? Like you go and speak to each other and stuff like that, whereas it is a bit more almost British here. Like I'm not used to people just going and speaking to each other.
It's changing here. It's becoming a lot more multicultural. Like how many locals are here? Like I said, there was probably under 1 million here compared to how many people that are here from overseas. And last year alone, it was like 55,000 people that moved to Dubai. So there's constantly rapidly expanding and growing, and it's super multicultural. So it will start to change. It's still a very new country. Like Australia's been around for a while, and they've sort of developed their way of living in a culture. Where here it's still fairly new, right?
It's only I think 56 years old or 57 years old.
Something like that.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And the thing that they've done here, the ruler Maktoum, he's incredible, man. The vision that his father had and he did and actually did it. Like people say that you're a fool if you're going to build a city in the desert and he fucking did it.
Yeah.
And not only did it, he did it really well. And he brought
Incredibly
people
well.
from all around the world, even including me, of course, and you,
Yeah.
to come here and live in a Middle Eastern country in the middle of the desert. It's unbelievable. And all props to him, man. And all these other countries that have lost people like us, man, I say that's on them, you know?
We literally spoke about this last week on an episode that I did before, that all these Western countries, the UK, Australia, America, were literally exporting our best people and sending them here.
Exactly.
And like, what's that going to do over 5 years or 10 years to that country and this country?
Exactly. And that's their only fault. It's going to destroy the country because these are the people that make the country grow, the innovators, the ones that actually bring, because we want, a country, the thing is, back home, they love the person who gets up and works and goes to bed and gets up and works and plays the system.
Yeah.
We're here, they like people that bring value and that bring business and bring opportunity and bring passion and they want to bring the best of the best here, and deservingly so, because they're vocal about it and they embrace that and they value that.
Yeah.
Back home, they don't. You know, if it's not the government, if it's not your boss, then it's the people around, the average person around that will bring you down. It's the tall poppy syndrome that Australia has.
I completely agree with that. A lot of people from the West say Dubai is really expensive. It's so much more expensive than home. Do you see that?
Dubai, you can live a life like this, really high.
This is my exact answer.
And you can
as well.
you can live very average,
Yeah.
depending on your means, right? People have the misconception with Dubai that it's so expensive. First of all, a lot of them are narrow-minded. A lot of them could never live that lifestyle and know they don't have the potential to live the lifestyle or make any money for themselves or have any confidence in themselves. That's why they say that.
So costs here versus home, and people being a bit small-minded.
Yeah. Look, it's expensive back home as well. In Australia, I think Sydney is the second most expensive city in the world, right? But everyone has this misconception of Dubai being so expensive, and because people drive around in nice cars and this and that, instead of seeing it as being expensive, why not seeing it as a place where you can make money and have opportunity? Because the average person has an opportunity to make money. It's true.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I always say London, Mayfair is my example. If you went into the middle of Mayfair and you went out for a meal, are you going to spend a lot of money? Yes. People say about Dubai, oh yeah, if you go out and you get food, like it's going to be expensive. Yeah, because you're going to the nicest restaurant in one of the most elite countries and cities in the world.
Yeah.
If you go to a nice restaurant in Sydney, you're going to be spending $1,000 for a meal.
Same.
And yeah, so you need to compare apples with apples.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I get my car filled up, it gets delivered to the house, it costs me £40,
Wow.
which is what, like
It's nothing.
$80, 200 dirhams.
Yeah.
And it comes to my house, you're about 3 times that at
Yeah.
home now. So I actually think you could live a cheaper life in Dubai whilst it being the same or better standard than your life at home.
Exactly.
You can also live a more expensive life,
Yeah.
but it'll be a higher standard.
You got Dubai, you got things that are super expensive and super cheap,
Yeah.
right? It's like this, where I'm sure the UK is the same and Australia is the same, where it's like well above average and consistent across the board, where everything is expensive.
100%. Right, a little bit more about you. So we spoke about the Joga Bonito stuff. We spoke about social media. Have you got anything else going on?
So I've helped invest some money into my partner's business, and Aya, she's got a business called Aesthetics, and she basically sets up clinics for people. So anybody that comes to Dubai that wants to get into the aesthetics game, she will set it up from A to Z, from top to bottom. So this is something that she's been here for 6 years, and she knows pretty much everybody in the medical field and outside the medical field as well. And she's probably labelled as probably the best for consulting in that field. And now she's coming up with her own brand in something as well, which I can't really speak too much about. But she's got her own brand launching as well, which I'm going to be involved in. And that's the beauty about here in Dubai. You know, like back home I was just doing construction, but now there's like 5 things that I'm doing. I can't remember everything that I'm doing pretty much. You know.
So tell me about that. You've been here 3 months. You've been here 5 years. 6 years. How does that work?
Easy. She's teaching me everything since I've been here. Pretty much, I've adapted.
I mean, before that, so yeah, the 3 months window, fine, but the previous, the 5 years and 9 months when you were living at home and she was living here.
Oh, so we met probably about a year and a half ago in Bali. We went on a trip in Bali, and I went randomly.
Right.
I was only there for like 2 days, and I met her, and then it was really, we had a long distance relationship for a long time, which was a bit difficult, and then I ended up making the change and coming here.
And you're married in that time as well?
Married, yep.
That's crazy. Talk to me about that.
Recently married, yeah. So, in the culture of, obviously in the Arab culture, so she's Syrian, you need to be married in order to live together and everything like that. So we decided before we did that, I was living on my own and she was with her mother. She got her mother her own place, and I decided to move in with her once we got married. So we got married, paperwork is done. We're just going to do the celebration probably next year in Bali all together with the family.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Don't want my girlfriend to hear that. We've been together 4 years, and
Wow.
I think she would be very happy if I proposed. I'm not quite there yet.
That's okay, because look, man, at the end of the day, you guys are together, but you guys are building, right? You're
Yeah.
building a life and everything here. So
I'm glad she's not here hearing
Yeah.
this. She's saying they got married after 18 months. Why are we not married yet?
it will happen. It will happen.
Right, what's your proudest moment?
In my life,
Yeah.
probably when I won my bodybuilding competition. So I was in love with bodybuilding since I was a young kid. My idol was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then I started training when I was about 14 years old. And then I've always wanted to compete on the stage. And I thought this is probably one of the biggest things that anybody can achieve, because you're pretty much in the most self-conscious state that anybody can be in. You're in a freaking G-string on top of a stage in front of 1,000 people. So for me, that was probably one of my biggest achievements, because I had through so much diversity before that had come on, with relationship, with getting injured, with a lot of people saying, what are you doing? And it's wrong, and all this sort of crap like that from my family. And then when I stood on stage and I won the competition, I won 2 competitions. It was probably one of the proudest moments I've ever had, because, I learned a lot about myself, and I learned that I was resilient, that I don't give up, that I put my mind to something and I get it. And that's the reason why I choose that as being my proudest moment.
Well done. You can't fake that as well. Like, you can fake or fluke a lot of stuff. Business, you can get good people around you. Loads of different things you can fake or fluke. But fitness, especially winning a bodybuilding competition, you can't fluke that.
You can't, and that's what I took out of it. I took out of learning a lot about myself, which I'm using in business now. So a lot of the aspects I learned from, like I mentioned, with dedication and consistency and all these sort of things, it was a 24/7 commitment to this. I use in other areas of my life, which I help benefit massively from.
So let's talk about some of the bits you don't see now. So some of the challenges that you faced along the way. You've had some great successes. You've taken Ronaldinho to Australia. Like, that's mad. What are some of the challenges you faced along the way?
Challenges a lot of the time. Sometimes you get self-doubt every now and then. But that's good, right? It can actually benefit you. So sometimes you don't think that you're good enough or worthy enough, which holds you back a bit. But then you just get out of it and you're just like, you know what, fuck it, let's just give it a go, So that's probably a big challenge. Is just the mental state of things, right? Which is happening less and less now. I sort of gone through a lot of the stages in my life where I've been the crazy, the jealous, and all this sort of person, where I've learned a lot moving forward. That probably also missing my family as well back home, because I'm very family orientated, and seeing my sisters or seeing my grandmother or my mother or dad, for me is really heartwarming, and it really gives me a lot of, I don't know, it brings me back down to earth in a way,
Yeah, so we spoke obviously before about my girlfriend being at home just now. She's gone home a couple of weeks before. She definitely has that kind of family thing a bit more than me. I'm fine to just see my family for a day or two, and then that's that box ticked for a few months. Yeah. Sorry, Mum, if you're listening. But yeah, she definitely wants to go home and see family a little bit more. Yeah. And I can imagine that is challenging if it is something that impacts you.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. I try not to focus too much on the negative things, I just try to move forward. But like I said, besides my family and sometimes the mental game that I play in my own head, because I have high expectation for myself, right? And I think everybody should have high expectation for themselves. And it gets to a certain point where I'm just like, I get my days, you come a little bit down and then you just get back up again and charge forward even more than you did before. I
think the self-doubt thing's actually important as well. I think it's something that you almost need. I think if you're not doubting yourself, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. I've just had a project recently that is literally about to open, and I bit off way more than I can chew. And all along I've been like, fuck, I don't know if I can do this. But at every point I've got through whatever that hurdle is. And now, as I say, we're literally phase 1's open next month, and we've made it.
Good.
But all along the way, I've been like, fuck, I don't know if I'm able to do this. So I think it's so important.
Get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I've been able to short circuit it, right? So see, now I'll self-doubt and I'll kind of just skip over it. It's like, well, we'll fix it. Like, you can doubt yourself and you can worry about it for however long, or you can just skip that bit and just fix it. And so I have been able to skip over it a little bit more, but it still does come.
Yeah, that's normal, and it's actually a benefit. In a lot of ways, you can use it to a benefit as well, which you have, and obviously I do as well.
100%. What about business challenges? So talk to me about some of the financial challenges, or something that you faced in your business.
Which business?
Any
business. Constantly having to innovate is a big thing, because it's a competitive market. Depends on what you're doing. It's super competitive, so you have to constantly innovate new ideas. And building a good team around you is really important. You're competing with people that are in big teams, and doing things on your own is just you're more likely to lose, right?
Yeah.
So having a good team that you can trust, you're on the same page, and everybody knows their roles, and trust for me is the biggest thing. And having a really good team is really important. That's probably the biggest thing. Not picking the right team when it comes to choosing, your business. And now I'm in business with, good friends of mine, and we've shifted other people out with Joga Bonito, with my partner in what she does, and other things that I do myself with social media, and having a good editor and things like that. So having a good team is probably the biggest challenge, to find people that you trust.
I agree with that. I've had both sides. I've had the good side and that kind of implicit trust and all that sort of stuff, and I've had the bad side as well. And I see how different it is.
Yeah.
And even neutral, like people that are neutral aren't great.
Yeah.
You do want to have really great people that you really can trust.
Yes.
So I definitely agree with that. Okay, people like us tend to get what we want, one way or another. We always seem to get there. Has there ever been anything that you've wanted that you've never got? People always do that when I ask us. They're always like, oh shit, I don't know what to say to that one.
Yeah. There is things, but I believe everything has gone in a way where it was supposed to, and it didn't work out for a reason. Like, for example, when I was doing things in Sydney, I wanted to own a string of clubs. Why? I think my ego got the better of me, because I wanted to be known and being, the best at doing this and whatever. Yeah. And that was one thing that I wanted to achieve, and open up my own venue, which I was close to doing. And I'm glad it didn't happen.
You wouldn't be here now. You wouldn't be in Dubai.
That's right. That's why I believe everything happens for a reason, right? That was a big thing. Also, I achieved everything I wanted to do in construction, but I didn't take it to the next level because I didn't enjoy it, right? But yeah, I would say that was probably one of the biggest things I wanted to do that I didn't achieve. Continue with bodybuilding as well, but like I said, I feel like I got what I needed from it. Which is learning a lot about myself, and I moved that into the other areas of my life. But other than that, pretty much got everything that I've wanted. Yeah,
I'm really similar to that. Like, yeah, there is things that I've probably not wanted along the way, but I wouldn't change anything in my life because it's led me to here. And I'm a firm believer in what will be will be.
You got to have that positive mindset, man. Like, it's a good question, but I feel like if you answer it in a way where you're happy that nothing had worked out, or it worked out exactly the way you wanted to get to where you are, that's a winner's mindset right there.
100%. Tell me about a time you cried.
Time I cried. Ooh. Probably when I was getting married to the love of my life, Aya. I started to get a little bit teary up in my eye there, because it was because we did the paperwork and everything like that. It sort of took us by surprise. They made us stand up, hold hands, and say a couple of vows to each other, and that was a pretty intense moment, because I'm in my 30s, and I thought to myself, would I ever meet the right person? Would I ever be in love in this way? And when you're staring at the person that you're so happy to be with, and you feel like you're lucky to be with, you don't know how you got this person, and the fact that you're in front of them, and then they're going to be marrying you, and then accept you for who you are and love you for who you are, that's a very deep and emotional moment, right? And I think it's a really good emotion. And if there's any time to cry for a good reason, I think that's it.
You're going to get brownie points. You're going to get a pat on the back on the way home. She's here listening.
Yeah. She was crying. Yeah. That was a big moment. Other moments, when when I cried the most, I think was when my grandfather passed away. Because that was like one of the first times I've actually had someone really close to me pass that I was really close with, and because I was labelled as like the favorite and the golden child, I knew how much he loved me. That was a hard moment, because that was a turning point in my life. And when he was on his deathbed, and I was looking at him, and I was all these people around him, I'm like, did he achieve everything he wanted to do in his life? Is he at this stage now where he is happy?
Yeah.
And what regret would he have? And my biggest fear is regret. And what would he have wanted to do that he didn't do? And what question didn't he ask that he should have asked? And what opportunity did he take that he didn't take? And that's what resonated with me. And this is why I do what I do in life. And this is why I take the opportunity. And people are like, you're crazy for doing this and that. Why? Why not? So since that moment, I've literally taken every opportunity that I can, not caring about the consequence. There's no consequence when it's something positive, right? But I've taken every opportunity. And that's, for me, the biggest lesson I've taken out of that.
I like that. I like that a lot. What's the hardest thing you've ever done?
The hardest thing I've ever done.
I'd imagine the bodybuilding stuff was pretty hard.
For me, it was easy because I loved it, right?
Fair.
Getting the meals in and the dieting for me was super simple because I loved it and I loved the pain. I loved to put myself through pain. I got so lean that I lost the fat underneath my heels. I was walking around at home and it was hurting underneath because you have a layer of fat underneath your heels, and I actually lost that layer of fat. The hardest thing I've ever done was something I did every single day, and that was wake up in the morning to a job that I hated. That was the hardest thing. Yeah.
What would you say to somebody that's there just now that's just listened to you say that's going, fuck, that's me?
Find out what you're good at. Find out what you love to do. And it's something that you do every day that no one tells you to do or you don't get paid for. It's something you surround yourself with every single day and give it a go. Start off small on the side. Still go to that shitty job. But if you have something that you can look forward to, like a holiday, then everything becomes better in your life and you slowly work on that. And the motivation should be that job. So it's actually a good thing when you're in that position because that becomes the motivation. The motivation for the other thing that you want to do on the side that can actually give you a life. And the side effect will be the money. Yeah. I say side effect because the fame and the money can actually break a person down, right? So if they are waking up like I was every single day in a job that they hate, find something that they love to do and do it really well and do it with passion. Because when you do something you like with passion, you can't lose. Yeah. You can't lose.
I think that's a great place to finish. Luke, where do people keep up to date with you?
Social media, Luke Lavidis. I've got TikTok, I've got Instagram, I've got everything like that. Jigga Bonito tour. You'll see that coming to Dubai, hopefully.
I'll be coming to that.
Yes, you'll definitely be coming to that. I'll be inviting a few people that I've influenced to come there as well. Maybe you can do a podcast with the player that we're bringing out as well, hopefully. With a few of us.
Sounds great.
Yeah, we could organise that. But yeah, just social media on Instagram. Yeah, I'm pretty active on that.
Right, thank you, Luke. It's been fantastic.
So thank you, man.
Cheers.
Legend. Thank you.